What is the name of this tool? And what is this fastener here? Torque wrench and a lug nut, wheel bolt, whatever you want to call it, holds the wheel on your car. Torque wrenches, I've got 5 torque wrenches of various capacities, from very small, no 6, I've got 6, from a couple of inch-pounds up to 450 Newton meters. The wheel bolts on a car with alloy wheels, 110, 120, something like that, 115 Newton meters on this car is what they should be. What is this? That is a 1 metre long, 3/4 inch drive breaker bar. It is 1 metre long. The heaviest thing I have lifted single-handedly was a generator on a boat. It was about 115 kilos a few years ago. I'm a bit old now, and that was as strong, you know, that was literally all out, with a rope around my neck, around the back, not the front, obviously, over my shoulders lifting. So I reckon I can pull upwards 100 kilos, let's say even 90 kilos. 90 kilos times 1 metre is 900 Newton meters. I had to lift with almost everything I had on that 1 metre bar. So we're talking, let's add a real fudge factor, 750, 800 Newton meters on a bolt that should have been tightened to 115 Newton meters. 7.5 to 8 times as tight as it should be. I'm staggered that the bolts didn't break. I'm staggered that it didn't pull the threads on the hub. Right, so what's all this nonsense about? Why is this a problem? It's a really big problem because this car has locking wheel nuts. Oh, we love locking wheel nuts, don't we? Yeah. Here's what's left of the adapter to remove them. The rest of the adapter is jammed in there, in the locking wheel nut, because some monkey has obviously used a windy and done these bolts up to, you know, nuclear tight. And of course the thing has snapped. Now this car has 4 wheels and every wheel was in the same condition. So the problem I had, customer wanted the wheels taken off, some stuff, return the brakes, blah, blah, blah. Nobody could get them off. She didn't. Other people broke 2 of the keys, the locking wheel nut keys, and sort of shrugged their shoulders and went, no, nothing else I can do about it now. So I've ended up with it and I tried a few little things. You can get these reverse, I can't remember what they call them, the inverse of easy outs. So instead of a, let me see, pause there, I'll see if I can find one for you. Right, here they are. I was giving it the old jibber jabber and not making any sense. So the idea is that you hammer this on and it's a reverse thread. So as you untighten in that direction, it grips tighter and tighter and tighter. In common with most locking wheel nuts, or certainly some designs of wheel nuts, this one has a steel ring that rotates around the outside of the wheel nut. So you knock that thing on and it just rotates a steel ring. So you can't drill them. I mean, you can drill them. You can get a mag-based drill with kind of cobalt drill bits, but a mag-based drill I don't have. That's a serious bit of kit. Cobalt drills I do have a few, but not of the size. I mean, it's just this thing, you know, these nuts are designed to not be drilled and not be ground. They're a security feature. They're designed to not come off, which means when you want to get them off for legitimate reasons, makes it really awkward. So I have developed a method. It is unbelievably painstaking, but it works. What you got to get is a Dremel. You know, an actual die grinder would be better, but I don't have a die grinder, so I've got to use a Dremel, which is a bit hobby, but it works. You need to get a load of these, whatever number that is. I can't see that, whatever it says. 932, 952, something like that. You can see that on there, can't you? Which are, oh, these ones are all worn out. These are ones I've worn out. They're I'm very well prepared on this video, aren't I? With everything I need to hand. Here's some. Come on, fingers. So it's these little cylindrical grinding jobbies. Little cylinders with a little indent in the top. These are the ones you want to get. I've got packets of them because I've been getting through a load of them. I'll take this one outside because I'm going to use it in a minute. And we grind it out. So I've done 3 of the 4 wheels. This is the last one. Where's the? There we go. Look, nice shiny new normal non-flipping locking wheel bolt. I hate those things. I hate them on a good day. Here's one what I've done earlier. So this is actually kind of the top of the bolt, and this is a super hardened steel. That's actually a separate part. This is the body of the bolt, which is a sort of a more normal, I guess it's a stainless or mild steel of some description. That's the shaft, the shank of the bolt, what's left of it. And this is that steel ring that actually spins around. It goes on like that, see, so that actually spins around. So if you try and grab it, again, anti-theft, that spins. So that's why those reverse threaded things don't work. So the only thing you can do is grind it. It's the only thing you can do, unless you've got a mag-based drill. You know, and people talk about, oh yeah, you can weld a nut on it, and you can do. Yeah, you can. In some circumstances, you definitely can. But this one is on so tight. It took a metre breaker bar and all of my effort. So I reckon 700 to 800 newton meters. You can weld a nut on it, and all it's going to do is break the nut off again. We've got to grind it out. I'm going to show you how to do it. It's going to take me about 4 to 5 hours of lying on my side with a Dremel, grinding out a hardened steel device that is designed not to be ground out. And we'll do it and it'll work, but it's painful, painful. Right, so the first thing we're going to do is just hack at it. We need to just get rid of as much material as we possibly can. Now later on, we need to use some finesse, and that's when we're going to use that cylindrical bit. For the moment, I'm just using, this is actually one of those cylindrical bits, but it's very worn because it doesn't matter. We're going to be careful later because we don't want to damage the threads and we don't want to damage the conical seat. Alloy wheels have a cone that the wheel bolt sits in, so that needs to keep its kind of tapered dimensions. So let's say, at the beginning, we're just going to hack. Be careful of the wheel, of course. Full speed, who cares? We're just removing as much material as quickly as we possibly can before we get to the tricky bit later. I say quickly, it's still going to take 4 or 5 hours. Now, I am not going to say that this is an easy way to do this. That Dremel you just saw is the second one I've killed. I brought the first one back to life. There's a bit of an inherent defect with these things, and a Dremel is not a die grinder, it's a hobby tool, and I've really given it a hard life, but I'll have to repair that one. Anyway, whatever. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not difficult, but my God, it's tedious. Wow, it's tedious. So I've been doing about 2 hours so far, I think, give or take. About 2 hours, because I had to stop in the middle to fix the Dremels. There's the other one. And I thought I'd stop right now to show you an interesting thing and where we've got to. So we took this is the top part here, which is a kind of a super hardened steel. And there's a ring somewhere. That was the first one. There is another ring there. Oh, there it is. Came off as well. We're now down to, here it is in the hole. And I don't know if you can see that we've got a kind of a hole in the middle there. And what that is, that's going from the hardened steel into the actual shank of the bolt. So it's made up in 3 or 4 different components that are, I guess, ultrasonically welded or, I don't know, joined together in some way. So now we have to start to be a little bit more careful, because so far it's just been remove material, ram, go, 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 go. Now we are starting to get to the bolt itself. You can see how deep we are in there. We're starting to start to go below the surface of the alloy wheel itself. So we have to be careful now. Where's the bolt? You can see we have this cone-shaped bit. Now we're going to be going down inside that cone, that's not a problem. And at the moment the hole that I've ground, as you can see, is significantly wider than the shank of the bolt. So now we kind of have to be careful that as we go down the cone that we narrow the grinding as we go, because you don't want to nick the surface. You can see, look at this mark. This is where somebody, I don't know if they were installing or trying to remove that 800 Newton meter tightened up bolt, but they've obviously slipped and taken a great chunk out of that alloy. So we're going to do our best to avoid any damage at all as we go down there, and we don't want to remove material from the wheel itself, and it's a cast aluminium, so it'll be very easy. Alexa, stop. Time to go. And we also don't want to nick the threads when we go down into the wheel hub either, because of course then we're into you know, the whole point of this is that we're trying to remove this without damaging anything. This is not quite the nuclear option. It's close. The nuclear option, and I've seen it, is people will actually cut their wheels off. They will cut the alloy off because they're so frustrated that they can't get this thing off. So before you go down that route, try this grinding out of the bolt. It is so tedious. Honestly, it's so tedious, but it'll save your alloy and it will work. So I'll come back in a little while and show you how we're getting on a bit further. So I've been going, well, it's been 3 days, but I've had to take some breaks in between because children and weekend, and most importantly, I've killed 2 of these. I've brought them back to life, but they keep dying, and there is an inherent design issue with using a Dremel for this kind of thing. It's not designed for this, I know. There'll be another video because I can't bother to go into it. We are interested in what's going on in here, so I'll show you. It's kind of difficult to get a feel for quite how deep we've gone in so far, but we are well below the surface of the alloy wheel now, and we're deep into the shaft of the bolt and that cone bit. If you can see how far in the bit goes, the bit's about 10mm long, and it's just below the surface, so we're at least 10mm into there. I'm hoping that we are going to be getting close towards the end now. It's been about 3 hours of work, so actually that's been quicker than the other ones I've done. I guess you get better at it and you get more used to it. But here's a bolt. So if we get, well, these are slightly worn, these ones, but we can see that we've already taken off that top part. Sorry, that top bit there. And a bit less, so we are down in, we're about probably there in that cone, so we've still got a fair amount to do. We need to come all the way down to there obviously, but we've ground off a huge amount of material. Now this is the point where we start to actually get through the bits rather quickly, because with a worn bit you can see you have it's rounded at the top here. Come on, focus. Rounded, and with a new one it's very sharp. It's a nice 90-degree corner, and we need that 90-degree corner when we come in. Focus, come on, because we want to have a nice clean edge here. We don't really want it to be too rounded as we come in towards the bottom bit. So you use a kind of probably 2 or 3 bits to get this far, and then the last bit you suddenly end up getting through bits a lot quicker. I'm hoping there's less than an hour's worth of work left. What you will see is suddenly a crack appears, and when you see that crack, you know you're nearly there. So I'll carry on, and I will show you what the crack looks like when the crack appears. Hurrah, hurrah, hurrah. So this is the bit that we're not done, far from it, in fact, but this is the bit that, this is the bit you like. If you can see it. You see up there, there's a circumferential crack. There is a crack all around the top. It doesn't go all the way around yet, but it's very close.
So we know we're very close, and I can tell you now, this is actually the third one I've done. One of the rear wheels we didn't need to do it on. This is the third one I've done, and every time you do it, you know you're going to get there, particularly after the first one, because I know the technique works because I've done it, but it can be very disheartening once you're a few hours in, because you're on your front, your side, you're kneeling, you're constantly shifting to be comfortable, you're constantly grinding, and it kind of feels like you're not getting anywhere. So if you do try this technique, you will get there. It will take a long time, and you will be fed up, but you will get there. You see that crack and you think, oh, we're nearly there. But you are, but you're not. We've still got to keep going in, go down. Don't go out, because if you go out, you're going to go into the cone and into the alloy wheel itself. So we've still got to keep going down further, down into it, even further. Another thing that it's not worth trying, believe me, I know, it's tempting now you're at this point to maybe jack the car up and take the other wheel nuts off, bolts off, out, in, what? Bolts out or nuts off, and give the wheel a kick and see if you can get it to kind of come over what's left. But you're fighting with hardened steel, so it's not going to happen. You need to grind it off, and you will find that you eventually get to a point where the head comes off altogether. That cone bit will come off, and you're stuck, or you're left with just the remains of the threaded portion in the hub, which is where we will be in a while from now, and I will show you that when we get there. Right, next stage in the process. Right, this bit just came off, so you can see we're going into that cone area. You can see we still have some, what we're looking at there is wider than the bolt. So we've still got, and you can see it here, that's only half the cone. We've still got some to go, but if we compare it to this one, you can see we're almost there now. So my camera work is fairly terrible, but we are nearly there. So when this bit comes off, you're kind of, it's heartening. You're nearly there. You're getting there. Nearly there. Nearly there. Yay! 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 Last one of the three you had to do on this car. So now it's been ground out. There should be no tension on this. We had 800 Newton meters, well, whatever, 700, whatever. So this should now, there you go. It will unscrew. Excuse my gloves. It will just unscrew. It's just coming out. I want to show you, can I? See? It just comes out by fingertip. A 1 metre long bar. A 1 metre long bar, and now it just comes out by fingers. So lovely. No damage done to the alloy. Oh, it's under the car for safety purposes. And now we can get on with the whole point is just to change the flipping brake pads. And also the tyres are not bad, but my customer knew she had this problem with the wheels, and I don't think she's using the car, but somebody else is using the car this summer, and she didn't want to get herself into a situation where the pads need doing anyway, but if they needed to change a tyre, all of a sudden they're stuck with the car, they can't get the wheels off. So it's kind of preemptive. Let's do the work and let's do this now. So there we go. It is doable. Hang on 2 seconds. So it's one of those things where there'll be some comments in here saying to me, why didn't I do this, and why didn't I do this, and why didn't I do that? I have tried, believe me, I have tried most of the common techniques. The one I didn't try is the welding a nut on for 2 reasons. One, I've got a mosquito on my arm, but that's not the real reason. One, I don't have a welding kit, a welder, and 2, with such a high torque, I really don't think that welding a nut on would have worked. I think I would have just sheared the nuts straight off. Oh, and 3, the alloy wheels, she wants to reuse them. If you start wielding gear around an aluminium alloy wheel, the chances are you're going to melt it. You're going to get spatter on it. You're going to wreck it. So this method it's massively time consuming, but it works, and it results in almost no damage to the alloy other than your own kind of hand skills and finesse. If you slip with a Dremel that's rotating at 30,000 RPM with a grinding wheel in it, you will mark your alloy immediately. Is it worth putting some masking tape around some cloths or something to prevent you scratching. Yeah, if you've got nice alloys, yeah, go for it. I didn't on this occasion because that's the third one I've done. I'm happy that I can do it without scratching it. It's already got that huge gouge in it anyway, so you know, another little mark isn't going to hurt, but I didn't. The only downside, there were two downsides. One is the time it takes. It's really, really long-winded. I hesitate to say labour-intensive because it's not difficult. You don't wear yourself out. It's just boring and goes on. The other thing is the tool, the Dremel. I've killed two. One was 20 years old anyway and has served me incredibly well. The other one I borrowed from my father-in-law and I've yet to tell him I've broken it. It's only 5 years old but done very few hours. And I've had them both apart and managed to get them going again, and I'll do another video on why they failed because it's daft. So I was thinking about getting a die grinder. I had a look at various die grinders which arguably would be more suitable for this kind of job. They're designed to run for many hours and grind stuff. A Dremel is a hobby tool. It's not designed to run for hours and hours. But the die grinders are bigger. They're heavier, which is going to make life more awkward when you're holding something for so many hours. And you've got to worry about getting the Dremel into the recess where the wheel nut or the wheel bolt actually sits, because as you go in, plague of mosquitoes today, as you go in, actually the head, the whatever it is of the Dremel, kind of starts to sit into the recess of where the wheel nut goes. Get off. So you've got to be sure that the tool you use will actually fit, because you go in a long way. Anyway, so there we go. If you're at your wit's end and you're thinking about cutting your wheel off or goodness knows what, it's really easy. You can do it with a Dremel, although maybe make sure you've got two in case you kill one. The bit is the 932. I bought 18 of them to do two wheels, and I have used, what have I got left? 5. So I've used 13. I've bent one, so I've used 12. I've used 12 to do two wheels. And in fact, there's still some meat left on them. Hateful Dremels, pairing, hateful. So this is the last one. That one's almost new. These ones are all still usable for other projects. They've lost their nice sharp 90-degree shoulder focus. They're a bit more rounded, but they can still be used. So you know, that's not wasted. I've got the ones over here. These are junk. They've worn down so much. I mean, maybe I could use them for something, but I've got these ones here. It doesn't matter. Don't despair. You can do it. It's not the end of the world. If your alloy wheel locking nut breaks or is lost or it's on too tight.